Before I start my comments, I need to, I can be very direct, as you guys know, and that can make people feel like they're being attacked sometimes. So I want to make it clear what I feel about you all so you understand where I'm coming from. I know 4 of you. I've had interactions with 4 of you. President Sheep, I haven't had many interactions with you, but you have always presented yourself as someone who wants to listen and learn. And I can't ask for anything more than that as a foundation. You've expressed the willingness to meet with me. And when I paused it so we could get our members involved in that meeting, you were patient and we really appreciate it. We're still organizing that to make sure that our conversations are as rich and meaningful as possible. But I just want to let you know I appreciate your willingness to engage in. Sister Todd Breland, you have had a willingness to learn and bring people into the learning process with you. And sometimes I just feel like you're waiting on some grassroots folks to put some wind under your sails so that you can act on all that you've learned. And I hope we can serve as that for you. The ones I've interacted with the most are Rudy and Mary. You all are 2 of the most beautiful people I've ever known in my life. And I don't think I've ever even gone out to coffee or dinner or been in your homes, but I've interacted with you, Rudy, enough to know that whoever has poured love into you, your mother, your father, like all those people, you reflect that love they poured into you back out at everybody you meet, at least when I'm around you. When I walked into that board meeting 2 months ago, I looked at you up there and automatically felt at ease because I remembered that presence you have, brother. So please don't misunderstand what I'm going to say. Mary, my wife, my first wife, Margaret, mother of my son and best friend on earth, she knows you. She talks about you a lot, and I know you. She's the head of senior services for the city. And me and my son have tried to get her to quit for years because she's there till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night and is dressed, and she will not quit. And finally, she explained to us why she wouldn't. And then we stopped asking because it gives her so much meaning in life to help out our most vulnerable seniors and create things for them and services that were not there. And that's exactly how you are with special education children. That's why she loves you so much. You are kindred spirits. Now, for those of you I don't know, I hope I get to know you so I can come up here and say amazing things about you as well. And I'm looking forward to that opportunity. Now, that brings me to my remarks. My remarks were in the beginning based on the idea like, as beautiful as I know you all are, how could you let what is going on in this district go on? As beautiful as you are, how can this happen? How can the brightest principals, the best principals in the city be treated that way? And, I came and I gave you guys a briefing 2 months ago. I missed last month's meeting and I figured, there'd be some change, but it's gotten even worse. And I'm like, how can they let this happen? And then it struck me, maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't know what happened between the last time I was here and today. So I want to ask you, you can nod your head if you like, you can not answer if you like, but I want to ask. 1, when I was here last, I gave you information on 4 staff members at Lindblom who failed to report sexual assault. I gave you that information and how all 4 of them were going to return to Lindblom if nothing was done. I told you about how Abdul Muhammad, the only person who ordered that assault to be reported when he found out, was removed, and the people who did not report it were still there, had not been fired yet. Did you know that all 4 of them at Lindblom? Did you know that the clerk who orchestrated a lot of the lies against him and failed to report was given her own office so that normally she's in the office, so when people walk in, they see her. And so they gave her her own office so she would not have to face the parents of the students she failed. when she failed to report sexual assault. She is in there today. Did you know that? Did you know that? That's a question. Did you know that? You can answer, right? You can say yes or no. You can't comment on it, but you can say whether or not you know it. Do you know that? I got another question for you. Did you know that Christina Davis, one of the teachers who made several false statements in the report against Abdul Muhammad, who was caught putting money from fundraisers from Black parents in her bank account, her personal bank account, stealing the money of Black parents? Did you know that after she got exposed, she was transferred, and I have it right here, to the virtual academy? It's right here. It's right here. If you look her up on the CPS system, she's right here. It says, just so you all can see, it says that she, get that for me, please, is a regular teacher at CPS Virtual Academy. This is the woman who stole money from Lindblom, got several students injured, had 38 coaches out of compliance. She was the athletic director, and told multiple lies, verifiable lies in the report. And after she was exposed in terms of the theft, she was transferred to the virtual academy. Did you also know that the person in charge of the virtual academy is the same person who was in charge of Lindblom before Abdul Muhammad got there? Did you know that? So the theft ring that she created before Muhammad got there had to have been created under him. And after she got exposed, they sent her to the school where he is the leader. And it's not even a school, it's the virtual academy. Did you know that? Did you also know that she's a gym teacher and director, and a virtual academy doesn't have gym or athletics? Did you know that? Did you know that? So she's seemingly getting paid to do nothing in some kind of witness protection program. Except she was a false witness, so that would make this a false witness protection program. Did you know that CPS was running a false witness protection program? Did you know that? I love you all so much. I hope you did not know that, but you know it now, and I hope you do something about it. I got two more things I want to ask you about. Did you know about the process that was used to remove these principles? Do you know about that process? It's a very dark and secretive process. Now, I believe in a search for the truth, and I want to tell you, I do not want to make you feel, I'm asking you these questions, and I know they're uncomfortable questions. I know they are, but there is no other way to get to the truth when you're talking to people who are living alive and to make them feel uncomfortable with that truth. I am lucky enough that I have people who love me enough in my life to make me feel uncomfortable when I was living alive. And so I love you all enough to make you feel uncomfortable with the lie that you're living right now. Hell, I love Pedro enough to make him feel uncomfortable with the lie that he's living right now. As long as this is happening, everything you say up there is a lie. Do y'all understand? Because you're trying to paint a picture. You're trying to paint a picture of a district that is democratic, that is fair, that is inclusive, but all 8 of the principals you targeted for removal last year were Black. 7 were Black men. That's not what you are. Fair and diverse is just not what you are. It's not what we are as a district, and we have to face it. Look, that if this is not going anywhere, we have to look that ugly truth in the eye every time. And again, I'm doing it because I love this city, I love you, I love this district, And however long we have to feel uncomfortable before we face up to what we are, I'm gonna be here making us feel uncomfortable. Next thing, were you aware of the process used to remove principals? It's a very interesting process, and the reason it's interesting because nobody knows what it is. It's a secret. When you want to get to the truth, we have standard processes in America to get to it, right? It's called due process. For criminal justice, for example, if someone you want to find out if someone did something or not, there's stages. There's 3 parts, right? One, is this on purpose? They're separate and distinct stages, right? So if you're charged with something, there's the charge phase, right? Then there's the investigation, right? The charges are public. Everybody, if someone's charged with something, they're public. Their charges were not public. They didn't even know. As a matter of fact, Gerald Murrow, where you at, brother? Gerald Murrow's been removed for 10 months. He still doesn't know what he's charged with. He didn't know what he was charged with when the investigation started. He didn't know when it began. He didn't know the end of it. He didn't know when they removed him. And he's months after he was removed and his name was smeared all over this city. The truth, that's the ugly truth of this district and the people behind it who are making it that way. Did you know that? The second thing we have in that process, after charges, you get an investigation, and typically investigation is closed until court. But then all the evidence from the investigation eventually sees the light of day. It doesn't happen in your process. Then there's the decision making, right? And there's the decision making. You have to have that. And then in all of these stages, they're separate and independent people. So the person who brings the charges doesn't do the investigation. The person that does the investigation can't hearing, right? Because that will lead to the truth. What's your process? Are there separate people? Separate stages? Do you even know? We don't. Ask about it. Inquire. What is the process, this dark, secretive process that they use to remove seemingly only Black principals? Next and last. And I'm going to keep saying this. I'm saying it out of love. I love this city. I need to see this city act right. That means we all got to act right. Next, that dark, secretive process is what got Gerald Murrow removed. And I want to talk a little bit about Gerald and ask you a question about what's happening with him. See if you know some things. One, we talk a lot about the achievement gap. But the achievement gap is not an achievement gap at all. It is an opportunity gap, right? Children learn when they get learning opportunities. Children grow when they get opportunities to grow. And in this district, there are certain kids who get lots of opportunities and options to learn and grow. And there are certain children who don't. If you go to Whitney Young or Jones, those kids have 200 different clubs they can join. They got all kinds of curricular options. If you go to one of our schools, it's reading, writing, arithmetic, and you're lucky if you have gym, right? Learning happens through exposure and interaction with what you're exposed to, and then coaching and repetition and mastery. Exposure, interaction, coaching, repetition, mastery. But it starts with exposure and interaction. And our children are put in places where they are not exposed to half as much. And they cannot interact. If they're not exposed, they can't interact. That means they can't learn. That means they can't grow. That suppresses the growth of our children. And this is where we bring it home. There are some people who actually reverse that. They're standing right here with me. They understood their kids were not being exposed to things. They understood that because they weren't being exposed, they could not interact and learn and could not get the coaching they needed to master. They understood that. So they brought in programs. Gerald Murrow was one of them. He came to Dunbar, and Dunbar was the school to prison pipeline when he got there. That's what it was, the school to prison pipeline. But Gerald Murrow said, let's bring in a barber college and a cosmetology college so that these young ladies will have a pipeline to some other place than prison when they leave here. He started a music studio, not for artists, but to teach the young people how to be artist managers, to teach them how to be artists, to be entertainment industry attorneys. So now there's another pipeline to a career and a better life that he created for them. He did another one, last one. He started an aviation mechanics and pilots licensing program at Dunbar. He had a kid graduate. Give it up. Raise your hand, brother. Raise your hand. He just had a kid graduate with his pilot's, like small aircraft pilot license and mechanic, right? Guess what happened when they removed Gerald from Dunbar? Guess what happened when they removed Gerald from Dunbar? What the district did. They removed the pilots program. Now, I want you to hear this question, because it's a question, again, based in love. What is the mindset of what is the mindset of a person who comes to Dunbar, sees there's a school to prison pipeline, and sees the school to pilot pipeline? He sees them both there. There's a school to prison pipeline, there's a school to pilot pipeline, and they get rid of the pilot. What is that mindset? They see a school to prison pipeline, and they see a school to a pilot pipeline, and they decide to get rid of the pilots. What's left? What is their goal for our children? We have a lot of work to do, a lot of conversations to have. But if we're going to stop the school to prison pipeline, if we're going to stop the achievement gap, we have to bring men like Abdul Muhammad. We have to bring men like, we have to bring women like Kimberly Gibson back into our schools, because they have the love in them for those young people to create the pathways that the folks in this district have not, don't believe in us enough to create those pipelines, so they walk into a Dunbar and go, they don't need this. We got something to teach you, Pedro. We have something to teach you. We are outstanding. If you don't believe in our children, step aside and let someone take that position who does believe in us. If you don't believe in our children, please have the decency to step aside for someone who does, brother.
Thank you.
We'll teach you. Thank you.